What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the League FFB, more specifically, an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty. Today, we're back with everybody's favorite type of video. It's a Dynasty trade review show. So these trades have been submitted into our Discord. We do have a free Discord linked in the description. If you're not a member of that Discord, that is where we pull these trades from. So for future videos, if you want your trades reviewed, make sure you're in that Discord. But without wasting any more time, let's get my co-host MFGDs into the building, and let's start reviewing some Dynasty trades. How we doing?
What's up, man? We good, man. Let's do this. Let's do this Dynasty trade show. Let's get it popping.
Hell yeah. So I got 10 trades loaded up, man. Submitted by the good people, of course. Let's just hop right into it, man. I don't want to waste too much time. We got the first trade right here on the screen, and I'm all decked out in my Viking stuff today for whatever reason. I guess I was just feeling the vibes, but I get to see Justin Jefferson get traded away in the very first trade. 12-team superflex PPR, a half-point tight end premium, and a start 10. Now, Ants submitted this and says he needs some depth. So he trades away Justin Jefferson. He gets Amon-Ra St. Brown, a 2026 first, and the 212 in this year's class. It's a tier down. Got him some depth, but how do you feel about that overall?
Man, you know what? I know my usual rule of thumb is to not trade Justin Jefferson or Ja'Marr Chase, but I think this one works. I think this one is a pretty good trade. It's even, or I would go as far as to say the Amon-Ra St. Brown side win, which is crazy because we're talking about Justin Jefferson here. But yeah, man, if I was getting the return of Amon-Ra, so this is the type of return that I think you should get if you trade a guy like Justin Jefferson. You're tearing down, you're picking up extra assets, and that's always the goal. It's not a huge tear down, but it might be, depending on how that Lions offense look after Ben Johnson. So I mean, that's the risk that you're putting into it. But as it currently stands, based on the production from Amon-Ra St. Brown from this season, I think that it's a good trade.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like when you're moving down from a guy like Jefferson or Chase, you need to move down into solidified elite assets the same way, Amon-Ra St. Brown is. To me, this is like going from like wide receiver 1 or 2, depending on how you view Chase and Jefferson. I know some people are going to have those swapped depending on who you are, but it's going from a top 2 wide receiver to probably a top 5 wide receiver in Amon-Ra. So you really don't move down too much. You get a future first, you get that 212, you can use the 212 or you can trade the 212. Same thing with the first. Like, I think this kind of accomplishes the goal of staying elite at the wide receiver position while getting a couple extra pieces that you can use to go get some depth. He maybe hasn't necessarily fixed the depth issue with the draft capital, but the draft capital can be used to go get it. So I think this is a good move. Like you said, usually I'm not, an advocate for going out and trading away Justin Jefferson. I think he's just one of those wide receivers and one of those players in Dynasty in general where if I have him, I'm most likely never going to trade him to you. This is probably one of the few exceptions.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like you don't go out, you don't wake up in the morning saying, "Hey, let me trade Justin Jefferson." But if somebody throws this at you, you got to sit back and really think about it. And I don't have a problem with this trade.
100%. Well, let's move on to the next one. We got the next trade here. This is a trade from Opticlone. He is in a 12-team superflex tiered PPR, so half point per reception for the running backs, full point for the wide receivers, and 1.5 for tight ends. And it's a start 10. Now he gets Jahmyr Gibbs. He trades away the 101. So we're basically looking at Gibbs versus Jeanty here. I mean, pick your poison. I think it's pretty straightforward across the board. How do you feel about this?
I think it's pretty straightforward across the board, but if I am the person who's trading away Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm definitely looking for some kind of small asset in addition to 101. I know I have a strict running back rule, but Jahmyr Gibbs is on the list of those guys who I perceive as like kind of like a wide receiver in terms of value. Yeah, I'm on an extra piece, man, because look, as awesome as Ashton Jeanty is, I still haven't seen him play in the NFL. I know he projects to be successful in the NFL, but that's why you should be getting an extra piece when you trade away Jahmyr Gibbs from him. You can't necessarily look at it as a straightforward one-for-one deal because the assets are equal, because they're not equal as of yet. We know what Jahmyr Gibbs can do in the NFL. We don't know what the player at one-on-one is going to do in the NFL, and that's why I think you got to get an extra piece for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think when we're talking about like projecting where Jeanty's going to go over the course of his rookie year, I expect him to end up being the RB3 in Dynasty sooner rather than later. And the only guys that I expect him to be behind is Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. So, that kind of tells you how I feel he's going to be at the NFL level. But I did just say he's going to end up behind Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, at least as a rookie. So I think, yeah, you do have to put the extra something on top of the 101 if you're going to be the one trading away Jahmyr Gibbs, because you do have a little bit just of uncertainty. It's not that we think he can, he's a can't miss prospect. I think he's probably as good as it gets as a prospect, but at the end of the day, there's always a little bit of risk. There's always a what if with those prospects. So it's not 100%. Give me the extra piece on the Jeanty side to make it fair. But that being said, Opticlone's the one who submitted this one. This is a smash, I think, except on his end. I think if you're going with the 101 and you say, hey, I could just move it for a guy who's already proven that he's an elite asset at the next level, who's already proven that he can be, one of the top scorers at the running back position, I can get Jahmyr Gibbs for my 101. Why risk it with Jeanty when I can just get the proven asset here with Gibbs? I love it.
Yeah. Have to wonder if the person trading away Gibbs is also thinking about, what the Lions offense is going to look like without Ben Johnson. So, maybe that's the mindset that went into it. But yeah, you're trading away Jahmyr Gibbs, pick up the extra piece. In any other scenario, almost, if you're trading away 101, you're getting a haul back. But there are certain guys that if you can get them for 101, the Jahmyrs, the Justins, certain guys like that, those are the guys you trade straight up for 101 if somebody's willing to give you those players. But if you were trading 101 for anything else, we'll sit here and tell you that you need to be getting a haul back.
So we keep saying, an extra piece. To you, what is that? Like throw a second on top of that? It's the 101 and a second?
Yeah, second, or like a young receiver that's like Jalen McMillan or
Yeah.
somebody like that. Guy like that. Like a small piece. Like you're not going to get 101 and like Marvin Harrison Jr. or something like that. Like just a small piece.
Yeah, I agree. I think you bought Gibbs at a discount here, Clone. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to go to, Clone has another one for one. We got a same type of format, 12-team superflex, tiered PPR, start 10. He receives James Cook. He trades away Sam LaPorta. So this is a tight end premium. How are we feeling about James Cook versus Sam LaPorta? James Cook kind of had a good end of year here. I think actually just a good year in general. He's one of the better running backs. Just updated my running back rankings. He's a guy that I have as a top 10 guy in my Dynasty rankings at the moment. How are you feeling about James Cook and this Sam LaPorta deal?
Opticlone, man, I'm finna start biting your style because I'm finna go out there. Unless Andrew got it, I'm finna go out there to one of our leagues and try to trade Sam LaPorta for Cook. Because look, I think this is a win for the Cook side. Sam LaPorta, there's no more concerning player on the Lions offense after Ben Johnson than Sam LaPorta to me. And that's if you factor in too that Sam LaPorta already took a step back this season, which Andrew predicted going into the season might happen. He took a step back. And unless the new offensive coordinator is going to highlight Sam LaPorta in the offense, you're probably going to see the same kind of production that you've seen this past season from him. And I can make the argument that even though he's a running back, and I don't believe in trading high value assets for running backs, this is a good one because James Cook is proven he had a good year. Sam LaPorta had a year stepping back, and you were able to get Cook for Sam LaPorta. So I'm definitely leaning the James Cook side here.
Yeah, I think this is probably fair. I mean, depending on how your team need and your roster construction is built out at this moment, like I could see the point of having Sam LaPorta, and James Cook being equal and how both of those could fit. So I don't think that there's a clear winner. I do think if it's in a bubble and obviously we don't know what the teams look like, I will take James Cook over Sam LaPorta at the moment. But yeah, I agree, man. I think this is a player who, showed a lot this year. I think the touchdown numbers were very high for James Cook. Those probably do see some regression next year, but he's still going to be a guy who's heavily involved. I think this is a Buffalo Bills offense who more or less is going to come back as pretty much the same team next year. There's a chance that, Amari Cooper re-signs. There's a chance that they just let Amari Cooper go to free agency because he was kind of a non-factor for them this offseason, or I guess this season. And then other than that, like Keon Coleman probably needs needs another year of development. Shakir is probably going to still be involved, but like I don't see them going out and making a big splash at wide receiver in the draft or in free agency. So I think James Cook is going to be a big part of this offense next year. And Joe Brady definitely made it known that he was kind of part of that offense. In fact, I think James Cook was part of the reason why they almost could have beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They were running the ball so good with James Cook, and it seems like they got away from the run game, and then they lost the game. So it's like, if you would have stuck with him, maybe you'd be playing in a Super Bowl right now. That said, I do have one counter to something you said. You said Sam LaPorta is the most worrisome player in that Lions offense. I will counter you and say that Jameson Williams is the most worrisome player in that Lions offense, I think, at the moment, because if Ben Johnson is not getting him the ball creatively like they were before, I'm a little bit nervous about him.
Okay, I could see that. I could see that. They're both worrisome.
But yeah, we're not so worried about Gibbs and Amon-Ra and those elite guys.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the next one. I'm going to go to this trade. It is a 12-team superflex PPR half-point tight end premium start 10. Again, Ant's out here. He says he needs depth. So he trades Justin Jefferson for depth, and now he trades CeeDee Lamb away for depth. Ends up getting the 103, the 107, and a 2026 second for CeeDee. How you feeling about this?
Wait, this is the same guy that traded away Justin Jefferson?
Yes.
So he traded away Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb.
Correct.
What are we doing here?
Searching for depth. That's what he said. Searching for depth.
Depth to do what? Like, to me, it just seems like you're gutting your team. I don't know if you have you must have Jamar Chase, Lab McConkey, and a bunch of other dudes if you trading away Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb for depth. But as far as this trading of itself, if you're trading away CeeDee Lamb, you definitely want multiple firsts. I can see that. You did get that. You did get multiple firsts. I would honestly, to me, CeeDee Lamb is a three first level player. Like, you should be getting 3 firsts for CeeDee. So, I mean, I guess if I had any small gripe, it would be like, maybe you could have got like a young player, a young receiver or something thrown into there as well. And so, I mean, I guess the trade is fine, but I just don't know exactly why we trading Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. I don't know. I don't know,
Fair.
man.
I think for me, when I'm looking at this trade, trying to focus on this one, not necessarily the Jefferson before, because, they're separate submissions. But I think when I'm looking at this one, I don't like this one as much as I liked the other one. And I'll tell you why. It's because in the first trade, you tiered down to a safe, elite wide receiver asset in Amon-Ra St. Brown. This one, you're basically taking on the mystery box of all of the draft capital. And I get it that draft capital doesn't mean that you have to use it to go draft rookies, but it does make it a little bit tough to kind of see what your roster could be at this moment. Because if you're moving CeeDee Lamb and you're getting a guy like who I expect to probably be the 103 in a super flex format, a guy like Cam Ward, and then the 107, maybe a guy like Luther Burden or Emeka Egbuka or a Trevion Henderson or a Quinshon Judkins. Like, there's a bunch of options here. The reality is, in this class specifically, at least the way that I am seeing it currently, it's the 101, and that's it as like the top tier. It's Ashton, and that's it. And then the next tier I have is 102, 103, 104. So at least you got in there, and then it's after that, it's 105 to like 109 or something like that, kind of the way that I'm seeing it. But that being said, it just feels like there's too much risk with the unknown draft capital with the CeeDee Lamb in this one. So I definitely prefer the CeeDee Lamb side. And I'm trying to think of it too. Like, now he moved Jefferson and CeeDee for Amon-Ra, the 103, the 107, a 26 first, a 25 second, a 26 second. So he basically got Amon-Ra and what is that? 3 firsts and 2 seconds. Yeah, it's Amon-Ra 3 firsts, 2 seconds for CeeDee and Jefferson.
But see, here's the thing too, man. Here's the thing too. When you say I need depth, you can't necessarily think that you're going to draft every rookie and that they're going to be suitable players to perform as reliable depth. Like, you got to get more players back in the middle. That's why this trade would have been better if you also got another piece and those draft picks, like a piece in the form of a player. Because think about it, like, he got a total, like, between his 2 trades. I know we're focusing on this one, but I can't. I got to focus on both of them. He got back probably like a total of like 5 picks, right? Because he got 2 in the last one and 3 in this one, right?
Yeah, he
And
got
he got back Amon-Ra, but we could say that that's like a lateral move for the sake of discussion. We'll say that's a lateral move with CeeDee Lamb because they're like in the same tier.
that's fair.
Okay. So now we got Justin. Okay, Justin Jefferson is gone. You got 5 draft picks. Out of those 5 draft picks, likely only 2 or 3 of them are gonna hit. If you're lucky, 2 or 3 of them will hit. So technically, you traded away Justin Jefferson for 2 to 3 players that might hit, and that you still don't have depth. That's the whole point I'm making, is that you
Yeah.
still don't have depth. Like, because either none of your draft picks go to work out or a couple of them are going to work out. So even after trading away Justin Jefferson, because CeeDee and Amon-Ra are a lateral move, you still don't have that. So your goal is still not accomplished because you didn't get back players in this CeeDee Lamb deal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think even more so if you like want to break it down, where you say even the players that do hit, like, what's the probability of chance that they turn into a Justin Jefferson level type of player? It's probably 0.01%. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a different type of player. I think this move specifically, like, I feel much better about this one if maybe one of those picks, the 103 or the 107, is subbed out for a guy like Garrett Wilson. And it's like Garrett Wilson plus a first plus a second. And then you've kind of moved down a tier and got the first round pick thrown in. So that's the only thing that I would maybe say that makes me feel better about it. Now, that's not to say that Ants can't go now and start shopping these first round picks around and say, hey, I want to pluck this player off of the roster. I want to pluck this player off the roster. And he doesn't have to use those draft picks. He can now start buying guys with draft capital, which will help the depth issue, and it'll help kind of, get away from some of the risk of the draft picks. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad move. This one, I definitely prefer the CeeDee Lamb side, just the trade as is, but I think that there's opportunities for him to go use these picks and accomplish his goal of adding depth and potentially having some young talent on the roster still.
Yeah, that's probably the next. Since the trade is already made, that's probably the next best thing you could do.
100%. Let's move on to the next trade here, though. I'm going to go to this one. Speaking of young talent, 10 team, 1 quarterback. So not a super flex. It's a 1 QB league, full PPR, and start 8. Team number 1 says they're rebuilding. They receive Caleb Williams and Odunze. They give up the 103 and Calvin Ridley in a 1 quarterback league. So how you feel?
This better not be Matt trade. Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams, and Rome Odunze in a landslide. I'm sorry, in landslide. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Bears fan either. I could look at this directly, easily, straight ahead, and say I'm taking Caleb Williams over 103, and I'm taking Rome Odunze over Calvin Ridley. Easily. This trade's a no-brainer to me. The side that got Caleb and Rome Odunze won. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think in a 1 quarterback league, there's an argument that the 103 could be over Caleb Williams at the moment. But that's not to say that it couldn't be close. But in a 1 quarterback league, that definitely devalues Caleb Williams quite a bit. However, I do want to just say straight up, like, in a 1 quarterback league, if I have to pick between the 103 and Rome Odunze at this moment, I'm taking Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze, if he was in this year's draft class, he would be the wide receiver 1 in this draft class. I think he would be over Tet McMillan. I think he would probably be coming off the board as the 102. And quite honestly, there's a chance that he could be in a similar tier to Ashton Jeanty if he was in this class. So that's how confident I was in the prospect of Rome Odunze. It didn't necessarily work out or pan out in year 1. I think a lot of that was offensive play calling with Eberflus and his staff. That being said, Rome Odunze over the 103 to me, and then you get Caleb Williams for Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is such an expendable asset at this moment in time in Dynasty leagues. I could care less about him on any of my Dynasty rosters. It's just, yeah, this is easy. Give me Rome and give me Caleb Williams, because Rome Odunze to me would be a top 2 player in this class.
Yeah, man. Look, man. Even in a 1 quarterback league, I'm still taking Caleb over 103. I'm just closing my eyes and I'm just throwing the ball. Like, I'm taking him. I'm taking over 103. Me, I don't even understand the concept anymore of a 1 quarterback league. It's been like 2 or 3 years since I've been in one. Like, it's hard to even understand, like, fathom playing with not having a super flex like on the team. But
Well, yeah,
Caleb,
I
yeah,
mean,
man.
we went to Superflex originally in the leagues that you and I playing together because of how devalued that quarterback position was. It just felt like every year it didn't matter who you had at QB. You could just plug in anybody and you could get enough points that it would be fine. And I think that's why we ultimately made the switch, because we went to Superflex and 6-point passing touchdowns at the same time. That's probably another reason why, the quarterback's devalued in the 4-point passing and 1 QB. But I think the 103 in a 1 QB league does switch too. Whereas like it probably in Superflex is going to be Cam or Shador or whoever ends up quarterback wise being one of the top guys in the draft. I think in a 1 QB, it's like we're looking at like RB2 in the class or maybe RB3 in the class, Trevion Henderson, maybe guys like Ibuka, Burden, like those guys are being drafted at the 103. So to me right now, Trevion's my number 2 in the class. That's why he's in the picture. But yeah, give me Rome and give me Caleb. It's not necessarily too tough for me to do that in this one.
Yeah, I understand the concept of it. It's just that outside of Ashton Jeanty, I don't see anybody as like a slam dunk like prospect. So that's why I'm just like right now I'm taking it over. And plus, like I don't know, like I don't see any context of who his other quarterback is either. So
and for what it's worth too, if Caleb was in this year's draft class, he would be the QB1 by a country mile. It wouldn't even be close. I mean, it would be Caleb Williams 2 tiers above the next tier of quarterback, which would be Cam Ward and Ashton. Shador. So yeah, it wouldn't even be close. So I don't think we need to talk too much more about it. They're rebuilding. They get Odunze and Caleb Williams. That's a smash for me. Let's move on to this one. We got a 10-team, 1 quarterback, full PPR, start 10. The 2025 first is said to be the 110. So you have Christian McCaffrey being received with a 2026 second for Pacheco in the 110. So are you giving up the 110 and Pacheco for CMC in a 26 second right now?
I'm not giving up Pacheco, and I don't even like Pacheco. I'm not giving up Pacheco and 110 for. I bet. Look, honestly, I'm gonna be completely 100 with you. To me, this trade is just a 225 first for a 26 second because both of these are dying running backs. I'm gonna be honest, man. Like I'm just looking at which sounds crazy because I mean, just a year ago, Christian McCaffrey, but yeah, man, I'm just looking at I'm looking at the draft capital, man, because Pacheco's on his way being done. McCaffrey's on his way out being done. That's just how I look at it. 2 very, very, very much so depreciating assets.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting some questions the other day. People were asking me, like, what would you sell Pacheco for? And I'm like, at this point, dude, I don't know. Like, I feel like his value's so low that, like, I'm probably holding him if we're being realistic. But it's just, neither of these guys' values are good at the moment. That said, a 10-team, a 1 quarterback, full PPR, I think if I have to make a decision on a side, I think it's probably fairly even. But because it's 1 QB, your skill positions are going to be pretty depleted by that 110. And so I'll probably go Christian McCaffrey, but I'm not happy about buying Christian McCaffrey at the moment. I think he's a buy, but I do believe that there's a lot of leagues where you can buy Christian McCaffrey for less than a first-round pick. I truly believe that. And I think we've seen trades where that has happened. Some people might be holding on to him, but I think you can get him for less than a first. And if you can buy Christian McCaffrey for a second, I'm all for buying Christian McCaffrey right now, just based on the upside alone. But yeah, I think I lean Christian here, but it's not by a lot, and I'm not excited about either side of the deal, to be real.
It's not by a country mile.
No, not even close.
This trade, they're bums. I don't want to say they're bums, but they're bums.
Yeah, I don't know why this trade felt like it just, we were not excited about that one for whatever reason. Let's move on to the next one, though. We got a 12-team Superflex full PPR tight end premium. You got Drake London, the 206 and the 404 being received. You give up the 102, the 210, and the 411. So how you feeling here?
How am I feeling here? Okay, it's time to play the old game. 25 fourth for 25 fourth. That's a wash, even though one is earlier than the other one. 206 for 210. That's a wash, even though one's earlier than the other one. So we're acting if 102 for Drake is fair. And I'm here to tell you right now, you cannot get a player of Drake's caliber at 102. Drake will be the first or second player taken in the Dynasty draft if he was in this draft. So I'm leading the Drake London side for sure, especially with the earlier draft capital.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy how you got earlier picks in the backgrounds because it feels like you, who was receiving Drake London, should have been the one getting the later picks because I don't know how that happened, but I guess good shit if you're receiving Drake London. I feel the same way. I'm a fan of Tet McMillan. I think Tet McMillan's pretty damn good. There are just some slight concerns I have with McMillan, but overall, I think he's a player that probably should be a pretty solid player at the NFL level. However, if Tet McMillan hits on all ceiling levels, he ends up being a guy like Drake London. And that's kind of the Jahmyr Gibbs and the Ashton Jeanty type of deal that we were dealing with earlier. Ashton Jeanty hits, he's Jahmyr Gibbs. If Tet McMillan hits, he's Drake London. So, yeah, this is pretty easy to me. Give me the Drake London.
Yeah, I mean, if Drake London was like pushing 30, then the deal will make a lot more sense. But even we're looking at age, Drake London is still young too. So I don't know. So it seems like a trade that didn't need to be made. Gave up the higher draft capital. So yeah,
100%. I agree. Let's move on to the next one. We got this trade here. Team number 1, they receive Drake Maye, Brian Thomas Jr. in a 25 second. Team number 2 receives Jalen Hurts, Zay Flowers, Adonai Mitchell, and 25 first. It is a 10-team superflex, half PPR, and tight end premium. The first equals the 109, and the second equals the 202.
109, 202 in this year's draft. That's kind of a wash, right? 109, 202. Yeah, it's kind of a wash. So I can't look at it as just typical trade. Yeah, it's a wash right there. So now it's like, okay, Bryant. Okay, so let's acknowledge this right now because I don't think this has been said on this show just of yet. The Drake Maye hype train is starting to like look. I'm on a train, but like it's kind of insane to me that this trade, man. Okay, I'm gonna get this out the way.
Let me paint the picture, bro. You're sitting on the train here for the Drake Maye, but you're starting to put your seatbelt on, saying we're going a little too fast, conductor.
Exactly. Okay, like he not Josh Allen yet. Like, come on now. Like, I know that's the prevailing thought that he's Josh Allen, and part of that's created by the media because they were saying at first that he was Josh Allen, but he ain't Josh Allen yet. This deal's tough for me to diagnose because I love Drake Maye, I love Brian Thomas Jr. I love both of those assets. But man, you're getting okay, at least for Brian Thomas, I could already stamp him as a solidified player that's successful in the NFL. Drake Maye, he didn't deserve to be a Pro Bowl alternate. Like if they're gonna put him in, they should have put Caleb in instead. But we see it with Drake Maye. We see it. And that's why the hype is there. We see it. But Jalen Hurts, established. Zay Flowers, established. Adonai Mitchell, I like him as a prospect. He's been held back by the quarterback. And then you get a little bit earlier draft cap. We definitely gonna have to break this one down into pieces because the part that makes it confusing is like how high do we value Brian Thomas Jr.? Is he already above Zay Flowers or are they closer to equal?
No, he's definitely above Zay Flowers in my opinion right now.
Okay. So that's where you're getting the value there because you're definitely not getting the value in a Drake Maye for Jalen Hurts trade, right? Or are we looking down on Jalen Hurts so far now that we're looking at him as equal or less than Drake Maye? I don't think so.
No, we shouldn't be. Jalen Hurts, I think for fantasy football purposes, whether you believe that he's a good NFL quarterback or whatever, I know there's a nasty narrative at the moment where people believe that he's like not a competent quarterback for whatever reason, even though he's been to the Super Bowl twice in the last like 3 years or whatever. So people are going to say it's the team.
He's in the Kyler zone.
He's in that zone. Yeah, for whatever reason. But I'll tell you what, for fantasy football purposes, this has been a top 5 producer damn near every year of his career. So I mean, look at the numbers however you want. This is one of those circumstances where I think, we talk about separate your feelings from fantasy football and look at fantasy football versus real life football. Sometimes they don't necessarily correlate. So Jalen Hurts to me, he is still a dominant cornerstone quarterback, top 5 type of guy. And I think Drake Maye is going to be a very good quarterback. And I think he can potentially get into the great quarterback territory depending on what the New England Patriots do this offseason with, surrounding cast and additional weapons and maybe better coaching with Vrabel and things like that. But at the end of the day, I'm just here to tell you, if I'm down tiering my Jalen Hurts to Drake Maye, I need significant compensation to do that.
Exactly. And that's why I'm going to just go ahead now, because I know you're probably going to say it too, is if I'm looking at this Drake Maye, Brian Thomas Jr. for Jalen Hurts, Zay Flowers, Jalen Hurts, Zay Flowers wins. And now you're adding on Adonai Mitchell in the first for a second. So I'm leaning, just get my pick in. I'm leaning the Jalen Hurts side of this deal.
Yeah, I think that's probably the simple way to look at it. It's a simple way to break it down, and I don't disagree with that necessarily. I think the reason why we're having trouble is because this is a good deal. This is a fair deal for both sides, and I think depending on team direction, you could make arguments either way. Because if you're a younger roster that maybe isn't necessarily entirely ready to compete yet, having Drake Maye and Brian Thomas Jr. probably is the play. But if you want points today, Jalen Hurts, Zay Flowers, the 25 first, like moving you up into that 109 tier, that's fine. Even though we said they could probably be the same tier, that'll obviously get mixed up with draft capital. It's tough to tell you at that point, but right now, and landing spots. But yeah, I'm going to lean the Jalen Hurts and the Zay Flowers side, but I think both sides are great. And I hope, I know there's going to be people in the comments that are saying that this trade specifically, we're devaluing Drake Maye and we're devaluing Brian Thomas Jr. But I think both of those guys have some of the highest or the fastest hype trains at the moment. Like, these guys are players that people are in love with out of the 2025 rookie class. And yeah, I just like the proven assets. The only thing that I will throw in there that maybe is being overlooked too is that it's half PPR, and I think Zay Flowers loses some value in half PPR.
Yeah. Zay Flowers is just he's a confusing prospect in general for me, because it's like, is he really that good or is he not? Like, that's just where I am with Zay Flowers.
He's kind of a player on the fence for me too. I remember I was just going through doing my wide receiver rankings, and I was like, I don't know how much I love Zay Flowers. Like, is it like, am I choosing him or am I choosing Addison? I probably take Addison. Am I taking him or Chris Olave? Like, I probably take Chris Olave.
That's where it gets choppy. It gets choppy right there.
I don't know. That's kind of how I was viewing him. But overall, I'm going to go with the Jalen Hurts side, and it sounds like you went with that side as well. So let's go to this trade here. 12-team superflex, full PPR. You get a full point for the tight end premium. So it's like an extra juicy tight end premium. 0.25 points per first down and a start 10. So you get Bucky Irving. Talk about another rookie that has a massive hype train at the moment. Bucky Irving, the 104 and the 204 for Chris Olave, the 110, a 26 first, Jalen McMillan, and a 2025 307. How you feeling?
Oh man, it's funny because I really like the Bucky Irving side, but getting 5 assets back is crazy. It's crazy. 104, you're getting 110. I think that's a teardrop. 104 to 110 in this draft
for sure.
204, but you're getting that. Oh, man, I'll have to go with the Olave McMillan side. I'm gonna have to because of that 26 first. I think Bucky Irving is good to me. In my opinion, Bucky Irving for Olave, I'm going Bucky Irving. McMillan, you're getting McMillan. In addition to there, I could say Bucky Irving in the second for Olave and McMillan might be, but I'm higher on McMillan than most. So I think that would make that deal fair to me. But then if I'm looking at a 104 for 307, a 26 first and 110, I'm taking that. So I'm gonna have to begrudgingly take the Olave side because I'm not that high on Olave.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people are high on Olave at the moment, which in return I think makes him a great buy at the moment. But when I'm looking at this deal, man, I'm about to say something right now that's going to probably trigger a ton of Dynasty Fantasy Football players that currently roster Bucky Irving. But there is probably 4 or 5 running backs in this class that I think are more talented prospects than Bucky Irving, that are potentially better running backs than Bucky Irving. And you can grab those guys, some of them all the way back at 110, especially in a super flex format. I think oftentimes when you have a running back like this in Bucky Irving, who wasn't the greatest prospect, came in, overproduced, you're looking at a guy who can be very good for fantasy football teams in a 2 to 3 year window.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are still failing to recognize that Rachaad White is still there. He's not going anywhere. He's still going to be involved next year. Liam Cohen is out the door. They're going to have a new offensive coordinator in the building, which is going to be different for this offense. I'm not saying it's going to be bad, but it will be different. I don't know, man. I think if you have a guy like Bucky Irving at the moment who's being valued as highly as he is, because I've seen on Keep Trade Cut, like some people have moved him all the way up to like a top 5, top 6 running back in Dynasty leagues. And to me, that just screams like we need to sell. And I think capitalizing on that and getting assets that are probably safer at other positions, not necessarily Chris Olave saying he's safe, but going and getting the wide receiver and some first round picks where you can replace Bucky Irving with a guy like Caleb Johnson or Marion Hampton or, Judkins or whatever it may be at 110 and a 26 first, it feels very much like the right move. It's maybe not the move that's fun to make, because I'll tell you right now, the most fun part of this deal to have is the 104 and Bucky Irving. That's more fun than the other side of the deal.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah, it
think
is.
Olave and McMillan plus the draft capital is probably the better part of the deal.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a fun trade. Like I said, but when you're getting back extra assets, particularly that 26 first, particularly because to me that's the linchpin of this deal, the 26 first. That's what makes you have to say, oh man, this is really fun, but it's stable. It's kind of like my relationships sometimes. Not on matter of fact, I'm not even gonna go there. Yeah, I can't go there. Like, this video get watched, I can't go there. But what I won't use my relationships for example, but I'll use general rule of thumb. Yeah, you might see the girl over there. She's fun. She's this, that. She got the BBL, all that. But you got your nice, solid, stable, loyal, committed to you to the end girl over here. Just stay with the side that's not as much fun, but stable and the right thing to do. So that's kind of like how you gotta.
It's fun in
how
its
you gotta
own
go
way.
about it.
Yeah,
it's fun in its
it's
own
a different
way.
type of fun because you're not stressed out and you're not losing hair and your hair's not going gray. Like, it's that type of fun where I'm gonna live in peace. I get that. I'm glad you didn't say that was your relationship, because you would have got yourself in trouble. Yeah, look, I'm definitely I made the argument that I could make for Bucky Irving. And again, I just want to re-emphasize, because I appreciate the people who actually listen to the points and don't get triggered by player takes and some of the analysis at times, and run to the comment section and, oh, you guys are way too low, you're disrespectful to Bucky Irving. I respect the people that will listen to it, because, again, I'm going to reiterate, it's not because I dislike the player. It's more so just looking at their current general values and how I can capitalize off of that from a roster construction perspective in my leagues and build a better roster long-term to keep me winning long-term. So I appreciate those people that actually listen to that. Again, I would love to have Bucky Irving on a ton of rosters. Don't get me wrong, but I do think he's a little bit overvalued, and this does feel like it kind of eliminates some of the risk, especially with the strong point of this year's draft class being the running back position. This is a good year where if you were going to sell a running back, you could probably find a replacement level running back in the draft class. So let's go to this last trade. I think this is the last one. We got Action SJ12.
Jesus.
Now, this is a 12-team super flex, full PPR, 1 point tight end premium, 0.5 points per carry, and start 11. So there's a lot going on here. We're going to try and break this down as simple as possible, but ultimately you have Malik Nabers, the 106, TJ Hawkinson, the 206, and Joe Milton being traded for Brian Thomas Jr., Trevor Lawrence, Cade Otton, the 404, and the 504. When we're looking at this trade, where would you like to start breaking this down, War?
The wide receivers.
That's where I want to start. I kind of want to start with Malik and Brian. Now, that's going to be fairly close, I think, in general, but I will say that consensus most likely are going to have Malik Nabers over Brian.
Yes.
By at least a little bit. So what of this do you think you have to throw into Brian Thomas to get Malik Nabers?
A third, which he didn't do.
You think Cade Otton qualifies for that? It's a full point tight end premium.
I mean, okay, I guess I'll let him slide there, but in general, I think Cade Otton performed above what his means this season. But for the sake of this trade, we'll look at him as a third.
Yeah, it's probably devaluing him, to be honest. But I think could you argue that the 206 being thrown in on the Neighbor side with Cade Otton and Brian Thomas on the other side kind of makes it closer?
Wait, like 206 been thrown in on the side with.
Yeah, is Cade Otton more valuable in a full point tight end premium than the 206?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Then I think you probably
because I could tell you right now, based on things you've told me, I could tell you right now that you may or may not be able to get a tight end that's better than Cade Otton at 206.
Well, now I have told you that I really like the tight end class, and I think that there's some guys in here that can be really good. 206 might be cutting it, though, especially in a 1 point tight end premium, because I expect Tyler Warren to be gone in that full point tight end premium. I expect him to be gone in the top 6 picks. Like he's probably a top 6 guy. So then you're looking at Colston Loveland. He's probably a back end first. Maybe there's a couple of these other guys here. I don't know if they make it to 2-6, man.
All right, so you saying I'm undervaluing Cade? That's what you're telling me.
I think here, look, I think it's tough to even tell. I can already kind of see where this is going, so I'm just gonna make it easier on us. I want to take out, and you tell me if you have any gripes about this. I want to take out Malik Nabers and Joe Milton, and then I want to take out Brian Thomas, the 4th and the 5th round pick.
Okay.
So we're just basically eliminating those picks. It's going to basically say that Brian Thomas and Malik Nabers are close, but for the sake of this argument, I'm just going to leave it where it is. But let's take those out. That really leaves us with TJ, the 106, and the 206 for Trevor Lawrence and Cade Otton. How you feeling with that? Because I know how I feel.
I don't think it's fair, man, because Malik Nabers, look, I'm just going to blindly take the Malik Nabers side. I'm going to take that side because while I acknowledge that Trevor Lawrence for TJ 106 in the second, that's not a bad trade because you're getting a quarterback back in the superflex league. But I feel like Malik Nabers still like a tier above Brian Thomas Jr. That's where my hang up is.
I agree. I think the part of this deal that I'm really struggling with is that once you start, no matter whatever you feel like on the other side is going to even out the value for Brian Thomas, whether it be Cade Otton or whether it be the 3rd that you said should be in the deal instead. Like, to me, it all comes down to the fact that the quarterback difference you are getting is Joe Milton versus Trevor Lawrence. That is significantly different. And at the 106 in this year's class, in a super flex league, I'll be honest with you, there's a chance you're not even getting, Shador or Cam at 106. And those are probably the only 2 guys in the class that you really are even looking at currently at this moment. So I don't even know if you're going to find the replacement QB. You have to have, obviously it comes down to roster construction. You have to have like extra QB on your roster. That's why you maybe are giving up Trevor Lawrence. But I'm sorry to rain on the parade. I know a lot of people saw Joe Milton, come in the last game of the year and make a big throw and do some things like that. And then people were talking about what if Joe Milton becomes a starter and the Patriots trade him, and it ain't happening, folks. Sorry. It's just not happening. Joe Milton is not going to be traded. First of all, let's just break this down realistically. The Patriots realize they have a good backup quarterback. Why the fuck are you trading that? Why do you trade that? Backup quarterback is one of the most important positions on your roster. You realize you have a good one? Let's get rid of it. Yeah, that logic makes sense. Joe Milton going to another team. In reality, how many teams in the NFL is he starting on? Probably not many. The teams that he could start on, they're probably looking at Shador and Cam Ward in this year's class. They're looking at free agents like Kirk Cousins. Are you taking Joe Milton or Kirk Cousins at this moment in time if you're an NFL team? I think you're probably taking Kirk Cousins still. It's just that argument, I don't know. I didn't mean to take it off on that tangent, but it doesn't make sense. The Joe Milton's going to be a stud starter somewhere. It doesn't make sense. To me, he's like, Joe Milton's no different than, honestly, he's no different than, a Bajan or a Spencer Rattler. Like, Spencer Rattler is probably more valuable than Joe Milton at this point, in my opinion. So, hey, I saw the reaction. That's just the way it is, man. I sorry the truth hurts sometimes, but overall, I think you could make an argument either way. The quarterback is what makes the difference to me in this deal. So obviously I could change my opinion if I saw the full team and the full roster construction, but in a bubble, I lean with Brian Thomas, Cade Otton, and Trevor Lawrence.
I lean the other direction because I assume that, which probably means it's a fair deal. Fair deal. Like, if we had to go twisting and turning for this, it's probably a fair deal.
When we
But you're right. You're not. But you're right. If he's trading thinking that he's getting a quarterback for 106, he's probably sadly mistaken. If he's thinking that, then he should probably immediately flip that 106 for somebody else's quarterback. So
yeah, again, he could have excess quarterback play on his roster and he doesn't need one, but we don't know that with this deal. So yeah, man. I mean, I think it's probably a fair deal. You got to pick your poison. I think Nabers and Brian Thomas, they're both top 10 dynasty assets at the wide receiver position that you probably want at this moment. I think Hawkinson is an upgrade to Cade Otton, but the thing that's holding me up is the Joe Milton, the 106, 206 for Trevor Lawrence and some draft capital. Again, if you have the luxury, you have the luxury, but I don't know that looking at this deal. So, hey, it is what it is.
Hawk should be a good buy low candidate this offseason.
Great buy low candidate. In fact, I have him watch listed on Sleeper right now, where I'm going around in all of my leagues and just throwing some deals out on him currently.
Yeah.
Him and I have 3 guys actually specifically that I'm targeting. Odunze is one of the guys that I'm currently targeting at a cheap value. I'm targeting Breece Hall A lot of people are very disappointed in Breece Hall and underwhelmed by Breece Hall, and I think he's still a stud. And TJ Hawkinson's the other one. So I'm targeting all three of those guys right now. But
not a bad
I think that's it, man. I think that's it. So that does take us to the end of our show. Appreciate everybody for watching. Now, you may disagree with some of the takes. That's fine. That's what we're here for. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below of some of these deals. If your trades were on today's episode and maybe we said something where you were like, damn, I wish I would have added this extra piece of context, go let us know in the comments. Let us know in the Discord, wherever. That being said as well, if you want trades submitted on next episode, which is about 2 weeks from now for the trade show, because next week is a coaching carousel video. So 2 weeks from now, we'll do the trade show. Make sure those trades are submitted in the Discord. The Discord is linked in the description. It will also be linked at the top of the comments section, so you guys can go join that. It's free to join, so there is no risk in doing that. All you got to do is go to the Trade Reviews channel, then you start submitting those screenshots of Dynasty trades with the context you want us to know down below. That also said, if you're down below and you're looking at, some of the stuff down underneath the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. On the road to 5K right now, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, hopefully sooner rather than later. I think it would be really dope if we could get to 5K by the NFL draft. But hey, who knows? We're shooting for the moon there. But all things considered, that's all I have for you guys today. War, where can they find some of your content at? Because you've been making some more content on your channel.
Yeah, I picked up the pace a little bit. As far as how much content I release. You guys catch me on Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling, where we talk about WWE, and we're back to talking about AEW for what it's worth. Just come and check us out. Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling with an attitude. Boom.
Hell yeah, man. All right, folks, that is it. Like I said, hit the like, hit the subscribe, go join the Discord. But we have nothing else for you today, so we will see you on the next episode where we talk about all the coaching hires in the NFL cycle and what we think that's going to do for these fantasy football assets. So until then, we'll see you later. Peace out.